Hello, human being. Are you looking for some more info on the solar eclipse that's going to happen here in Aries at March 29th, 3:57, 3:58 Pacific here? I'm making this video in a chill space, a place where the moon is what they would consider in its balsamic phase. It's the phase before the actual new moon happens, and this is kind of the end of the moon cycle that we do every month. That gets to a place of like retirement, chill, nothing, waiting for the new cycle to begin. Now, with that intention, with that vibe I'm carrying, I will talk about a little bit about this solar eclipse, and then I will go through each rising sign. It's important here, each rising sign, and tell you what I think here about each one of those. You can click on the chapter markers if you want. This video is going to be a little different, and I'm going to come from that place that's balsamic and meditative and chill and see where my mind takes me when I talk about each rising sign. So before we even get there, let's just take a look at the chart. This is the eclipse chart right here. I'm going to do some quick markings here to show you the important planets that are involved. And here is the 9-degree Aries new moon that's going to happen. Now, let me just say something here, because this particular eclipse is the end of a 1.5-year cycle, even more, that started way back when. Actually, in late 2023, when these eclipses started happening in the signs of Aries and in Libra. And since then, we have come to the end of this cycle, and this is the final one here in this cycle. And I think this is an odd one because especially Aries and Aries Risings people, you have planets there. There's been a lot of work and a lot of wanting to push forward in the Aries parts of your world and in your chart. And this one's the final one. You would think it's the ultimate push, right? But it's not what you think in the way that you think, possibly. And I'll show you why. And here is, we look at Aries there, and it's ruled by Mars. And we go look to the chart here where Mars is in the sign of Cancer. Now, for those who have been following astrology for the 6 to 8 months here, know that Mars was last in Cancer last fall in northern hemisphere, spring in the southern here, and then it went through Mars. It took 2 months to go through Cancer, and then at the end of last year it went into Leo and stopped, and then went backwards, retrograde. And we started the year off with the Mars retrograde in Cancer that had to go backwards and then move forwards, and we're still in this place that Mars is moving forwards now. It's really starting to pick up speed, and it is the ruler of this eclipse and rules Aries in general. So we're looking at this and like, well, what kind of engine and fire and Mars here is bringing into this situation? And since Mars is in the water sign of Cancer, this ongoing story that has to do with the past, safety and security and emotional content, and how we deal with the past, how we deal with processing our emotions, right? And it's a watery place, an emotional place. It isn't necessarily fire like Aries wants to be. Since saying that, Mars in Cancer also is making relationships to Saturn in Pisces, a water sign, and wide orbs here, but Venus in Pisces, Neptune's there right now. So this has a major water backing feeling to this whole eclipse, and it's not what you think it is, and that's what I meant here. Now, is it a place where stories end and from the last 1.5 years in the Aries parts of one's chart? It is, but it's not the cutoff that you might think it is. And I think that cutting off and leaving something and moving forward gradually happens here in the next 2 months. And really kicks in later down the line. But first, if we were to take action in the Aries type of way and in a Mars type of way, and since Mars is in the sign of Cancer, how would we do this? And if Mars and Cancer in this chart is connecting with Saturn and Pisces, which brings discipline and rules and structure and boundaries, Mars and Saturn pretty much are holding this eclipse up. And I like it. I like it for the fact because we're in water signs, it is not something that's fully concrete. And water deals with emotions and deals with bigger intuitive things, where typically Aries, in general fire sign, is dealing with instinct and impulse. And this is something I've been talking about on my channel for the last month, about the balance between instinct and impulse and one's intuition, their emotional content, and the bigger vision of things, right? And how we eventually combine instinct and impulse to the bigger vision that's fueled with intuition. So that is the basis of this chart. And so for me, there's other things here, but I'm going to keep it simple here. And so basically I've kind of focused on the Cancer part of the chart, the Pisces part of the chart, and then the Aries part of the chart. And let us remind ourselves that in this chart here right now, we're going to look at Mercury, who has been going backwards and retrograde. And in this chart is at the first degree. It's gone back to 0 degrees Aries, and it's about to move back into Pisces. And it pretty much does it after the eclipse is done. So basically, Mercury's going back into Pisces. Venus, who's retrograde now, she's already back. She already went over these places earlier. She's already back. And as a reminder, Venus retrograde right now started her retrograde cycle at 9-10 degrees Aries so many weeks ago. So we have a major chapter in the Venus retrograde story and the Mercury retrograde story, all that started in Aries, but are going back into Pisces. So you could see here, even on paper in this chart, that the degrees are in Aries. There's really an unavoidable Pisces story connected to this, and they're not separate. They're one and the same in my mind. And so basically we're in a review period, and we can't shoot out the gate that the way Aries wants to be and want to do right now. There has to be this certain thing of going to the past and feeling things and trying to understand what has happened, right? And taking that and understanding eventually the bigger vision that one needs to find themselves in, that's connected not just in their head, not just in their physical body, but the bigger spiritual vision of things. And that eventually, once defined, or once I should say explored, when these planets start to move forward in the next couple of weeks, in mid-April, end of April, they'll eventually go back into Aries. And that's when the small little action steps Aries wants to take, especially after a year and a half of doing work with the eclipses. They start to put it in motion, right? So I'll talk about what that means for each rising sign. I'm going to throw you off here in a good way. Might drive some of you crazy on how I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do it my way. There's a song there that's called My Way. Not the Usher song, the Frank Sinatra song, or you can use both. I try to use a little bit of sense of humor here on this channel. But in this particular part here, when I talk about each rising sign, I'm going to let whatever comes through here, my brain, through my body, from a more intuitive place into the word place, into your world. And the way I'm going to do this is with my voice and with sound. So let us start with Aries Rising. Aries Rising. I feel for you. The reason is because you've actually have imposed your will, and you've been trying to do this. And if we think about last year at this time, there was a major solar eclipse that happened here in the United States, at least, that covered the whole country. It's huge. And we're going back to that place. We're kind of wondering what just happened in the last year. And for all the eclipse work and all the Mars work and everything, we're at a place here where, like, I'm ready. I'm more than ready here to assert myself in the world. I've kind of come to a place here where I can't take it anymore. I must jump. I must go forward. But this particular eclipse, as I mentioned here in the beginning, doesn't have that shooting out of the gate feeling. And there's a little bit of a review. Where you go for the bigger vision of this is first understand where your rehabilitative place is, the place where it's your cave, the place where you meditate, place where you find solace, place you go to heal. It's in that place where we look to the past. We sit in the feelings that come up. And some of those feelings and storylines might have to do with not just the past, but family, where you come from. What gives you a sense of home? What has changed in those areas in your life, especially since last September 2024? And it's in this rehabilitative cave where we surf through those emotions, see what we have to finally let go of, certain aspects, which then fills in the vision of what's to come next. And when we get to the end of April, things do start to move forward. And I feel when June comes, you'll be roaring out of the gate the way you wanted to here for the last year and a half. Finally, it seems, huh? But first, we must be bold with our intuition. We must be assertive in the meditative place. And we must have courage when it deals with the past. Aries Rising. Next, we're going to go to Taurus Rising, a Venus-ruled sign. Taurus Rising, you're in an interesting place here because you've had a lot of action in other ways with other planets. And you are, in some ways, seeking the connection with others, redefining what that is, whether it's your friends, your community, right? Who are the people? Who supports your wishes and dreams? And you might be surprised. It might not seem like necessarily those in a far-off place, but around you in your immediate home and neighborhood and community. And I think it's important these days to communicate and seek out conversation. And once you do and hear and kind of sit in those places, you come back to your temple and you let it gestate. And I think you'll know when it comes to those who have previously backed you in the past, community, your patrons, whatever. You'll know what to release and what stays, right? But I think it's not a mind thing. It's an emotional thing. Pay attention to your dreams too. Might sound random, but there's something there too. You're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Isn't this eclipse happening in my 12th house? Yeah, the Aries part is. Sometimes in the 12th house, we're dealing with isolation and what it is to be alone. But sometimes we got to step out of that place and we got to see who's there for us and who supports us and our wishes and dreams. And even when times when we need to be alone and contemplate, that we know once we come out of that place and go back into the world or socially, that we have those who will totally understand and still be supportive. Taurus Rising. By the way, there's something else that's going to happen later this year. One big surprise, and that's for another video. Gemini Rising. You're the key of D. This particular eclipse on paper shows itself in the place that deals with your hopes, your wishes, and dreams, and where you would possibly find triumph. Those who are aligned with you. But before we would even go there and try to push for something new in that area of our life, we must look to where we stand publicly. What's on your metaphorical business card? How you're seen publicly. Could be your career, could be what you're the expert on. And that is in combination. That fuels your resource creation. How you make money. And this is very important right now to understand your career place and the money place. To go to a deeper meditative outlook on this and to understand, why do I work for this? How much am I worth? Does the universe, my paycheck, whatever, reflect how much I'm worth? And we're going more on a intuitive level with this one. And eventually, the tie-in between your career and your resource creation is connected, eventually here, connected to those who would support your aspirations and your dreams, and where you can eventually find your triumphs. And a little bit this year, we're going to start to see signs of this. And once next year kicks in, there'll be a lot of work for you to do when it comes to those in community, your friends, those who are supportive of those hopes, wishes, and dreams. But first, we must look at who we are publicly and how it's connected to what we value in resource creation. Gemini Rising. And let me throw in an extra something here that doesn't seem like it's part of the eclipse. You only got so many more months till June while Jupiter's in your sign. And once we get past these Mercury and Venus retrogrades, and we get towards the end of April and all the way to June, which is pretty much like a month and a half, that's when you go full force and showing who you are in the world. Gemini Rising. Take it from Gemini, by the way. Cancer Rising. You're my D sharp people. You You've had a year, I gotta say. I have to say, not just a year, I say a year since especially September 4th of last year, 2024, because that's when Mars entered in the sign of Cancer. Remember, Mars right now rules the solar eclipse in Aries. And you being a fellow cardinal sign to Aries, you're a Cancer rising. The angles of your chart, the 4 major points of your chart are cardinal signs. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. So it's not just one part of your life that's been slowly changing or needing to change. It's your whole chart pretty much. And so Mars has just been trying to push an agenda. And you being a moon rule person, I'm sure you've floated over the waves and the different way water comes, metaphorically, when it comes to the emotional storms that you've weathered or you've had to weather with other people. And here, since the beginning of this year, January, I think there's a lot that's happened to you. I know this. This particular eclipse in Aries falls into your career house. Who you are publicly and where your reputation could lie and possible achievements, your social status. But what's underneath all that, and for the movement to happen that Aries eclipse and the North Node wants to do here finally in your career house, is kind of fueled and based in other places right now. One of the places has to do with what you believe in. Your code, your truth. This could come in the form of like something you believe in, your spirituality, all different ways that we access what our highest truth is. And when we're researching and feeling other higher truths in the world and how we incorporate them in our world, in your truth. And this is connected to how you see the world. And how when you leave your cozy Cancer cave shell and you decide with your pinchers to feel out in the world when you go out there, is it aligned with your truth and what you believe in? And that is under contemplation right now during this eclipse. I think you've done a lot of work, especially since this past January. And I wouldn't even use the word work. I mean, it's more like wanting to move through emotional narratives and stories in your life or other people, or they don't know how, and you've been helping them do that. And, but it's been a little feisty at times. Not the easiest thing to do. But there's a reason Mars has been around in your sign, and it's to kind of push things up to the surface on an emotional level. So it can be finished and to be processed, and so it can move on. And that's connected to what your highest truth is and the exploration of that. That feeds into who you are as a career, what your reputation is, what your ambition is, what you want, how you want to become the authority on whatever it is in your world. A lot of times we do this through job and career. And I think that's waiting for you. I think you get that. But this eclipse brings up something first. But you're not oblivious to going to deeper emotional realms, are you? It's what you do. It's how you show everybody to do it. It's how you lead people sometimes to do that. The key is knowing how long you stay in a place emotionally and knowing when to move on. And by doing that, how that feeds into what you're the authority on in your career, people will catch that intuitively. They'll see it. Later on this year, you'll have changes happening in your career house, and we'll bring you to a bigger story starting in 2026. More responsibility. You'll have to deal with more authority. So Work with the clues now to set yourself up for later. Also, it's a good time here. Nice warm bowl of food for yourself and whoever else you think needs it. Cancer Rising. Leo Rising. Leo Rising. You're itching. I think you're itching. I think you're itching. I think you had a glimpse of something the end of November of last year and the beginning of December of last year. Mars was entering your sign it was like not even a week. It was just about a week. And then you're like, okay. And then boom, that just kind of went away. And there's been some storylines to look at and finish up here. By the way, Mars is going to come for your world here very, very soon. Get ready. Get ready here after mid-April. I think you're going to like it. Before we do that, this eclipse is happening officially in the Aries part of your chart that deals with your truth, highest truth, your in one way your dreams, how one travels, how one seeks truth, where one goes to learn about truth. We do that through workshops. We do that through other mentors. We kind of find a place here that deals with sometimes it could be religious for some people, but it's really like your philosophy. And that's where this particular eclipse is happening here. But I think the underlying basis of it, and for things to move forward, for something new to come into that realm of your world and your chart, it actually starts with something that's shadowy, deeper, right? And there's some things that clean up there. I'm talking about places in your chart that where one goes within and sometimes has to walk through shadows. And what sometimes the fear in the shadows. And in those places, what do you encounter? I think sometimes in one sense, I think it's someone like you, Leo, who wants to shoot out in the world and has their fire, needs to be, show themselves in a different kind of way than Aries does. Sometimes, though, we have to come to a place where you know that you can't do that. You can't shine bright yet. And I think in order to shine at one's most optimal place and when at their brightest, they have to understand the shadow parts of themselves, right? Now, part of this has to do with a deeper story of being tied up, possibly with other people or institutions or places that you need, that in a sense give you some a sense of your resources. Like sometimes you're tied into a contract or something and you need whatever comes out of that. You need that in your life and you wish you could just do it yourself, but sometimes it works that way. It's like getting a loan or someone that you're close to, that you're intertwined with, right? So there's one part of this. And the other part of this has to do with exclusion. And that's really weird sometimes for a Leo rising to deal with because they want to be seen. But what if you were to, let's say you were an imaginary sun and you were to go out into the world and no one saw you? How does that feel like? What happens to you? Now, I know there's some Leo risings out there that are what we call the offstage Leos, that they don't necessarily are up on stage. They want to be, They're a little freaked out about it. They really do, but they don't work about it in that way. Still, some of this has to do with alienation and what it is to be alone. And when you find yourself in those shadowy places, in the darkness, what do? And are you cool with it? And have you come to terms, and can you sit in that place? In that place is actual regeneration. And I think it one eventually can take care of their mental health there. One, in a sense, deals with the more psychological parts of themselves. This exploration place really that has to do with, in astrology, deals with your 8th house, Pisces 8th house, and your 12th house, Cancer part, is where this eclipse is kind of being fueled from. And those places, 8th and 12th, are to be explored right now. And once we get into the end of April and further here in a year, I mentioned, I think it's the 17th or 18th that Mars is going to be going into your sign. And dang, you've been waiting for this since December, okay? But first, it's those places that I mentioned. The shadow's good, by the way. Just want to say that. In order to be a bright sun, you got to be in the dark for a little bit, okay? All right, Leo Rising. That was a weird forecast for Leo Rising. Virgo Rising. Virgo Rising. Silence. No drone music. No drone music. You can't do it all alone. Let me just say that again. Can't do it alone. We know you can do it alone. We know how you can work and serve, and the bigger purpose, the bigger machine. We know you could do this. By the way, if you do that, it has to be reciprocated. Let me just take a side note here, Virgo Rising. It has to be reciprocated. Like people have to also work and serve and balance the sheet out. You can't just do everything. It brings up these things about habits. How one can get sprawled out on their mind and the details. I mean, you're so good at it. But does it become detrimental after a while? Sometimes we go to a place. We can go to a place in our lives of those who community and friends. Do you have that? And do they support you? Do they see what you do? And do they see and appreciate your Virgo tendencies? Now, this all starts with you. But there's sometimes you can only do so much. Like I first started to say here, and we go to look to those who can support what we really want, right? Your aspirations, your dreams, hopes. I would really take a look at that part of your world right now and see who's there or what's there to support you. And maybe it's not what you want it to be. Or maybe you see what is functional. I use the word functional because of Virgo, what works and what doesn't. And there's a recycling that's happening there. And soon about to change. This is also connected to your relationships in general, whether it's friends, an intimate other person, whoever, even enemies. This is tied into all this. Sometimes as George Michael, 80s pop star, said in the song Faith, you gotta have faith. And can one trust that? Can you trust that? Can you trust other people to show up and have your back? If you need structure and rules to help you go through this, that's great. But I think it does incorporate other people. I don't think there's any way out of this. I don't think there's any way out of you doing the alone thing. Plus, sometimes the people that you trust and find, it's nice to have a good old cry. Or to just rant about what's on your mind, just so it's purged out. Eventually, in those places, the fear, one walks through it, has the courage to walk through these places. So, in one way, be bold and be assertive when it comes to those who have your back and serve. It's not an ultimatum. It's more like just an observance of who's got your back, who supports you, and where things are reciprocated. Soon, very soon in the next couple years, you'll see those people who have your back, and you might be in a shared position with them when it comes to generating resources. But first, you have to know who's there and who's not. Go make yourself some tea now, okay? In your herb jars that you got over there. Do what you got to do. Virgo Rising. Oh, I've been waiting to get to this rising sign. I always, in these types of all signs videos that take forever and that just completely like hog up the YouTube algorithm. Notice everyone's doing all signs videos. I always like to get to Libra risings because I get to be like, I like to be so brutally honest with them, almost, and from a trickster quality place that I have to do that it's like, I like to give it to them straight. Are you giving the world? Are you doing the world straight? By the way, I have to say this. I have to say, like, are you speaking to the world and give it to them straight? Or are you lollygagging around and just kind of avoiding stuff? I don't know. Well, that's one thing. But now this Aries eclipse is happening in your relationship house. There's a lot that's happened there since the end of 2023. I am sure you have had situations in your world. I think the big pillars of your world, whether it's who you are in the world, Libra rising, your career, home, oh my gosh, yeah, home, and relationships, this has all been tied in, and there's been action in all those places, right? So listen, kudos to you for getting through the end of 2023, by the way, which was some massive stuff going on there. And all of last year, when these eclipses have been happening in Aries and Libra, and the South Node being your sign, a storyline of who you are, how you engage the world, how you rise out into the world has had to leave. Something needed to be flushed away, and you're almost there. You've had to do it. Maybe it's been representative in relationships in your life, like everything else comes down to Libra risings. It's always reflective in who they're relating to, or how they're relating to the world, or the colors they're relating to, or anything that their senses are relating to. Then there's the mind, the politics of relationships. Something there is not working anymore. It has not worked. And I think you've seen it here the last year and a half. And you're at the final stages here. And I think at this particular final stage, I think it has to do with, in one way, how you serve a particular, let's say you serve yourself or serve work, how you do work, right? And how you're seen publicly, career-wise. I know it seems weird, right? But I think if one were to look at the underpinnings of this eclipse, and get some contemplative insight. And I mean contemplative as in you, Libra rising or a cardinal sign, and has to initiate. You rule a season. You're at the beginning of one of the seasons. You start things, right? Just like 3 other signs do. But maybe you're not being able to start it right now to move forward. Maybe there's some things that need to be like looked at and observed and contemplated. And I think part of it has to do with who you are in your career house, your reputation, what you're known for doing, that kind of thing. And I think the other part of this is, basically your daily habits and how you serve a particular story. Let's say, again, an example is like a project and what we have to do every day to slowly get the project done. Let's say the project is you, and let's say it's like, when one gets up in the morning, what they do at this time, what they do at that time, and how they get through. It's the little things here, right? That is connected to your reputation, achievement, career place. And this eclipse, that's in the background. That does eventually lead into relationships and the final couple things one has to do to move relational stories forward. I'm giving you a more distinct way of looking at this eclipse, where it be coming from. If you need a technical knowledge, basically at the beginning of this video, I said Mars is ruling this in Cancer and Saturn's in Pisces, and they're relating to each other in the chart. And your Pisces part of, your sixth house part of your chart is Pisces. Your 10th house is Cancer. That's where the other planets are, and that's the basis of my forecast for you. You see that? Now, to be clear, I haven't put any drone music for you on this one. Until now. We do need to engage your senses, Libra. Through F sharp. Think about what I said and meditate on it. It's a water-based thing, Cancer and Pisces. And there's great insight waiting for you there when it comes to how you relate to the world in general. And be honest, will ya? Don't mess around. Come the end of April into May, you gotta speak the truth. And when you hear the truth from the outside of you, take it for what it is. We know your game, Libra Rising. Can't pull fast ones on me. Scorpio Rising, for my long self-indulgent video that I'm doing right now. This eclipse is in your 6th house. That's your Aries part of your house. Now chart. Now, eclipses have been happening for a year and a half. That has to do with your daily habits, your routines, how you serve things. Could be dealing with some illness, some things that have been coming up. It's a lifestyle that one's leading, how you deal with your labor in general. Now, even though that it's happening there, but remember, this eclipse is ruled by Mars in Cancer in its relation to Saturn and Pisces. So we're going to look at the Cancer and Pisces parts of your chart. The Pisces part of your chart is the creative powerhouse in your chart. It's your sexuality. We got to just be real with this here of first of all, the massive undergoing reconstruction that has to do with how your sexuality, how you creatively express yourself. This could be it's your pleasure world and how that's been under construction for the last 2.5 years. That's the Pisces part of your chart. The Cancer part of your chart has to do with what your truth is. Your philosophy and code. 2 water places in your chart that are connected to you as a Scorpio rising right now. A lot of activity in these 3 places that are interrelating to each other. For this particular eclipse, we are looking to what your truth is and what your creative outlets are, and if they are aligned. And is that happening? Are they aligned? And do your daily habits and whatever project you're serving yourself, your body, everything, is it aligned with your creativity and with your highest truth? It's that straightforward. We know you're a Mars rule person. You like to take action. But at first, it has to do with the exploration, knowing what your code is, what your truth is, what your vision is there, right? Does that funnel through the creative expression place? Maybe you know the answer already. Maybe it's been happening. Go take a look at it from an intuitive angle, which you're really good at, by the way, when you're not playing the manipulation game, okay? So right now, you got some serious water flow in your chart going on, and I really like it. I really like it. But there's some habits you need to shore up. And we look to these places I mentioned, and we set up the new habits in our world to fuel the creative place, your spiritual truth place, and you is how you look at the world, Scorpio Rising. Little bonus for you. Later this year, Mars is going to go into your sign. It's in the fall, northern hemisphere, spring, whatever. Set yourself up for that one. Some rocking and rolling around that time. What you're really setting yourself up here, though, for the next so many years in the Aries part of your chart is how you deal with the little things in your life and how you serve, how you work, what your habits are. We want to align those. We want to have it together. We don't want to go to unbalanced places and all of a sudden it's like getting sick, getting a cold or something. You know what I mean? It sounds really weird, but take care of your body, will you? Sag Rising. Sag Rising. This eclipse is happening in the Aries part of your chart. That's the chart that deals with the fifth house. That has to do with pleasurable pursuits. It has to do with self-expression, for fertility, kids, sexuality. Dang, Sag Rising. Yeah, like you're up for the adventure. I think, though, there's been a lot that's happened in that part of your chart for the last year and a half. That's where these North Node eclipses have been happening in Aries in that part of your chart. Remember the beginning of this video. It is a Mars-Saturn position right now. Mars, in general, rules Aries, but we look to the sky right now to see where Mars is, and it's in Cancer right now. So I'm going to go look at the Cancer part of your chart, right? Which is the part of your chart that deals with shared resources, the occult, the shadowy fear places. And I'm also going to look to where Pisces in your chart because Saturn in the sky is there right now, and they're relating in a good way during this eclipse with that Mars in Cancer. These two water houses in your chart. That Pisces part of your chart has to do with where you come from. It actually has to do with your home, family, the past, lineage, ancestry, all that stuff. Whatever, parents, your roots and foundations. And how that's connected to shared resources, inheritances, a certain type of shadowy, fearful places. How we maybe share in gains with other people. So for me, it sounds weird, or for anybody watching this, the way I'm doing this, but those two places are to be contemplated right now. Shared resources, home, family, past. The two water places in your chart. That's the two places and where the planets are right now supporting this creative expression house eventually that's going to get its engine revved up again. But before that happens, got to sit down and feel emotionally. Get down to the roots, into your home and place in the past. how it's connected to other people. And finish up something there. Once we really kick in this later this year into 2026 and the 2 years after that, you're going to go through a massive reconstruction in your creative expression place, your sexuality, all that. There's a story that's going to play out there. And right now you got some hints, some other things to tie up first, okay? Remember, technically, it's a Pisces Cancer part of your chart that are part of this eclipse, really. Knowing you, though, even if everything was out of sorts, you're going to go ahead and do it anyway. So, did you even hear what I just said? Sag Rising. Anyway. Capricorn Rising. Capricorn Rising. Wow. Did you move? What happened the last year and a half? Did you move? Something to do with parents and family? Did you open up a box? Did you open up a box that had like a bunch of pictures in it? The past came up. Anyway, I'm wondering, that's the last year and a half. I mean, that's not what this is really all about. I mean, it is. We do have to look to our immediate surroundings, though, these days, and the reconstruction that's been happening there. And we also have to take a look at your relationship world. I'm sure a lot's happened there since last September. Then something else kind of came through here the beginning of this year where you've had to deal with stuff when it comes to your relationships, whether it's with open enemies, with its intimate other people, with people relating in general. I think that's an important part of this eclipse for you, is just relating in general. Coming up against things, people. How have you been dealing with that? And I'm more wondering how you're dealing with it on an emotional level. By the way, if you walked out of the house and see if there's any cool parks around your place, like if you've taken a walk around where you are, like, not get on a flight. I'm talking about like what's around you. Doesn't make sense, does it? Trust me. Trust me. There's something there. I would do that this week, actually. And not only that, I would deal with the inevitable. There's something up connected to your relationship world and your home. Where you come from, and partnerships in general. A lot of movement there, but can't just act upon it yet. So I would come and sit in a place that's more intuitive and emotional right now with these places. And I would give yourself the time to get past those Saturnian walls that you have, Capricorn Rising, and get into the more feeling place. The essence place, the more to know what you truly are feeling instead of masking or pushing away, avoiding. This eclipse, next couple weeks, there's movement happening there. Your home, and we reiterate this, your home, your past, memories, lineage, the photo box that I mentioned, and then those who you're relating to, who you're in relationship with, and all types of relationships. There's something there, and I think it needs to be contemplated and moved through. And let your intuition guide you there. Eventually, there's movement here that happens. It could be your home, could be you moving. Could be some contract that's connected to property. Could be a conversation with a family member. All that kind of stuff deals with home and family in the past will really start to kick in here at the end of May. And it's going to set you off on a journey, 2026 to 2028. where there's going to be major changes in that part of your chart. That part of your chart for the Capricorn Risings is the 4th house, the Aries parts of your chart. Right now, it's a review and contemplation. Okay? Focus on that. By the way, between you and I, it's okay to cry. Aquarius Rising. My great air sign that you are. This eclipse does happen in a place, in astrology they call it the short journeys place, like what's immediately around you. It's like the bodega down the street and shit like that. Could be siblings, could be your neighbors. This is the Aries part of your chart, right? But if you watch the beginning of this video, you saw Mars in Cancer ruling this eclipse along with his relationship with Saturn and Pisces. So we look to the Pisces and Cancer parts of your chart. The 2nd house, which deals with money and resources and resource generation for you, that's the Pisces part of your chart that's been going under a massive transformation the last 2 years. A lot of activity here lately there. The Cancer part of your chart has to deal with how you work, how you do your daily routines and service, how it's connected to your health. These two particular places are related right now. So if you haven't already, I would really contemplate and intuitively, this is very important what I'm saying to you. Even if you consider yourself psychic, we want to check out those money value places in your life, and then how you work, your daily rituals, your daily habits serve that, and how they serve each other. Like, what the hell does that have to do with walking outside my door to go check out the local park or my brothers and sisters or the bodega that I talked about? I'm telling you, there's insights in those two other places. This is kind of a tricky eclipse in general. So for me, I'm going to the places where things are more tangible and workable, where one can really see it for what it is. It's very important to recognize that Mars in general, wherever is in the sky, rules whatever is happening in Aries. And Mars right now is in that part of your chart that deals with how you care for yourself, your daily rituals, your habits, how you work and serve. It's there where I would go more to, and this might be a toughie for some of you. The emotional world, the emotional content. Get up in your heads and get all mind. Separate head and body. I'm saying get into body, and once in body, we become embodied. In an embodied place, we look at our rituals. We look at the things that bring us out of the airspace and into our rest of ourselves emotionally. And then we have to sit in that emotional place. And what do we do every couple hours there? If we were to do a ritual and kind of understand that, this gives us insights to what we might be suppressing or pushing away emotionally. You want to use your mind in that? You do simple things. When you get into emotional places or parts of your body, or you become embodied and you're like, feel something, it's one word, like sad. I'm happy. I did this daily ritual today. I did my daily things. Whenever I did these certain things, I all of a sudden felt happy, sad, excited. What emotions? What was the byproduct of your daily habits, right? On an emotional level, not from a production level, not from a mental production level, material level. It's more like, What is your body telling you? Where are you emotionally when it comes to how you serve yourself and serve whatever, right? So I know it sounds weird, but hey, by the way, I got a lot of Aquarius in my chart. There is the Pluto thing. There's the Pluto thing. Hey, might as well put reverb or an echo. The Pluto thing. Oh my God, the Pluto thing. Besides that, head, heart, body. They're one thing, Aquarius Rising. Look to your daily habits. Pisces. Let me stop here. The sound in the drone. Pisces Rising. These eclipses, even though this last one in Aries is happening in the part of your world, here that deals with what money means to you and, how your desires are connected to values and what you do with your desires. And your desires connected to a paycheck that you get, right, to survive. It's like your wealth and your sustenance and your assets. These are all second house things. This is, for Pisces Rising, this is the money house. There's been this movement here for the last year and a half where some eclipses have happened there. And then the other eclipses in Libra, they've happened in a place that's your shared resource, or you have to deal with other people and the money that you might need from that you're tied up in or you're kind of litigating through. So there's that. There's some fears and all that. But this might be your lucky eclipse. Is it your lucky eclipse? The reason is after doing so much work with Saturn in your life here, Neptune for 14 years, Saturn for 2.5, a Mercury retrograde, a Venus retrograde that's going into your sign here as you watch this video, basically. I don't know what else you want when it comes to shifting and changing. You're really good at it on an intuitive level. Let me reiterate that word. Intuitive level. What's this have to do with my money house? It has to do with the potent center of everything, of life itself, the ball of light inside you, where things are born and seeded from, creation itself. And once tapped into inside you in the depths of you, how is it utilized? How does it come out into the world for you to see and for the world to see? Have you forgotten about this? And if it is there, does it give you pleasure? We do this through creative endeavors, creative vessels. We do this through sexuality. Some of you might have kids out there. It could be a storyline. The relationship to who you are in how you see the world, how you view the world, rise into the world as a Pisces rising, is connected to your creativity. And if it's been lost and it seems dead or not feel quite there, connected, I think you're on the precipice. I think it's there. I think there's something for you to latch onto here. But it doesn't happen like this. And I think it does feed into your resources and money making. Eventually it does. But you got to be real. Luckily for you, being real is not the way other people do it. Being real is being mystical. It is being intuitive. The hypnotic states one finds themselves in. Healthy ways, please. Intuitive, psychic, sensitivity, compassionate, empathetic. A lot of these words are Piscean traits, but they're nothing if they're not funneled into something. The something is your creativity and the output. And I would take a look at the relationship between your creativity and the traits that I just mentioned. Does it bring you a big fat paycheck down the line? Maybe. But in this particular eclipse, those are the places to walk towards and to look at and to feel. We want to feel in those places. When this Aries archetype story, the last eclipse in Aries here in your money house, and the planets that we have there are retrograde, they're going to go back here in the end of April, and they're going to move along. At the end of May, Saturn is going to be in Aries, Neptune is going to be in Aries, and we have the T's this year. And next year, 2026, the big story kicks in on your money house, and it's Neptune there for 14 years, and you have Saturn there for 2.5 years to completely redefine and rework how you create your resources and money and your tie into other people and money. And it has to do with what you value and knowing what you value. And what you value, in my mind, on this forecast, stems from how you see the world through that Piscean lens and how it's connected to your creative outlets. I'm not saying miracles happen in this one. It's a long road to work for the money thing the next couple years. But this eclipse touches upon it, and some of the other planets right now touch upon it. And luckily for you, the planet that's ruling this, Mars in Cancer, and its connection to Saturn and Pisces are in water places. And you get to have the weird, crazy, amazing, wordless, secret messages that come into your world that you absorb like a psychic sponge, and they brew and they swim and they change and they bring colors and sound and all these different ways. And they always lead to something else. And that's my weird forecast. It's completely self-indulgent, over the top. It's the only thing that made me do a video. And I'm just like, it actually is connected to my chart. There's a reason why I'm doing this. This is more for me. So if you made it and you click through, great. Subscribe. If you think I'm going to do this again, I have no clue if I'm going to do this again. But I'll tell you, I risk on this channel. I risk, and I do it, and those who stay with me, they stay with me on this wild ship, on these endless seas to wherever shore that it's going to take us. And saying that, whether it's this eclipse or retrograde or the astrology for the year, there's one thing I will always reiterate on this channel. Fear is real. Challenge is real. But so is faith, and so is hope, and so is love. And it's the balance of all that. It's knowing when to trust something that you cannot see and have faith in something more. And it's knowing when to take action. It's knowing and understanding what the bigger vision is for you. And then knowing when to apply it and construct that vision in the world. It's knowing when to take a rest and to regenerate and to shed the stresses, contemplate the fears, and then knowing what tools to bring in to turn fear into wisdom, and using courage to take the next steps in your world. That's what this eclipse is really all about. But first, we contemplate. We hit the intuitive, emotional place. We're empathetic with ourselves. And we find the unifying vision. Then we're bold and we're assertive and we initiate. I'm going to initiate some food. I'll see you around.